Ladies and gentlemen, this RedGaming.com video, we're going to be discussing recent news from AMD. This involves the next generation of GPUs for PC. So there is a couple of tidbits for us to discuss. The first is that the next generation of GPUs is still going to be a 28nm processor. So that's pretty much destroyed any theories that it's going to be 20nm. However, this is still going to be 23% smaller than the GK 110 series cards. Now, another point that we're going to be discussing is the Radeon 7990. Now, a couple of websites, including Tom's Hardware, for example, have been fairly scathing, actually. They've not been very kind to the card. And AMD have started to comment on this and started to kind of ramp things up for the next generation. Have said that Main Gear proved that cross-fired 7990s are a perfectly viable option for enthusiast gamers. It's a solution that we've been shipping for a market for a while. With regards to performance, we've already released AMD Catalyst 13.8 driver to address the frame pacing concerns outlined in the article. We think we've done an excellent job of addressing everything in the article today. The 7990 is unequivocally the fastest GPU on the market. Now, in case you're not familiar with this issue, it's been basically said there's been a lot of micro stuttering, frame desynchronization. Let's just go with that. It's a massive issue, so I don't want to explain too much of it in this video because it'll take a while. So you can Google it yourselves, go to Tom's Hardware and Google their reviews or whatever. But AMD, it's been pretty much predominantly considered to be a driver issue. So AMD have recently released a couple of drivers which have been said to improve the performance of the card. Now, another point on terms of the driver support is that previously AMD have been very heavily criticized with drivers. This is even coming from myself. I am currently using a video card, but previously I've used several AMD cards, and to be honest, one of the main reasons I like NVIDIA have been the drivers. Traditionally, I didn't really like AMD's drivers so much. They have improved. AMD have had this to say: we were doing driver updates monthly whether we needed to or not. The frequency of our updates, especially lately, I'd say is pretty good. There's actually a review I saw the other day from a Chinese site that compared a bunch of our drivers over the last year, and they talked about the increase in our performance from driver to driver. We have a plan to release a new driver when a significant new game becomes available, and recently we've been doing a lot of big drivers on lots of big games. I'm just going to clarify this in case you're not exactly familiar with PC gaming or whatever, but the idea is that, let's say you have a game that's being released, driver updates are typically released in conjunction with those big games. So let's assume that, for example, Battlefield 4 is released. You could bet within a couple of weeks' time a new NVIDIA and a new AMD driver are going to be released. The purpose behind this is simple. It's to improve the performance with the GPU. In other words, they'll write specific routines in with the drivers to better handle the game's engine. Therefore, you could get the game's performance to go up. This is very similar, by the way, to what happens to other games. I'm sure many of you are aware of the Unreal Engine. It's one of the most popular engines out there, of course, for games development, and many third parties, other than Epic, of course, license this sucker. And there were a couple of games that were released that actually did really badly on a couple of different GPUs, and one of the sneaky ways to get better performance was actually to rename them. So you actually rename the XE to something like Unreal Tournament 2003, and you'd actually get better performance because the game, because the driver, the graphics driver, then knows, oh, okay, so I handle it like a UDK game. Oh, okay, if UDK equals Unreal Development Kit, by the way. So it just makes things a lot simpler. But obviously now they're starting to write much better game profiles anyway. AMD are also considering something like the GeForce Experience. Now, in case you're not familiar with it, maybe you own an AMD card currently, the GeForce Experience is pretty simple. It is for those of us who just can't be bothered to customize our games, or for those of us who want to know if there's frequent driver updates. The GeForce Experience will basically check to see if there's a new driver update for you for your card, to help give you decisions based upon the game you've bought. In case you're wondering, I've actually done a video on this already on the channel, so you can check it out if you so wish. AMD, however, are considering doing something very similar to the GeForce Experience. In my opinion, I personally have the GeForce Experience installed more of a driver update type of thing rather than anything else. It's not really a prerequisite if you know what you're doing for PCs. But on the other hand, if you're just one of those players that just want to quickly configure something and that's it. It's quite nice for that. I don't necessarily agree 100% with its settings. I think sometimes it can be a bit conservative, but that's just my personal opinions, of course. Regardless, for those who don't really know that much about PCs, it is really good, and in my opinion, it's very good for the PC marketplace because it inspires someone, or not inspires, but facilitates someone to just be able to quickly set something with a simple button press, which can be more of a console-like experience. Obviously, we've still got a long while to go, but still, it's certainly improving things. Finally, they have given us a few tidbits in regards to the next generation of Radeons. Now, this is not exactly specification stuff, but they have, of course, confirmed that the GK110 is about 30% bigger in terms of the die size than what the next generation is. However, they have talked a little bit about price. They're not exactly giving us a price point, but they're saying, and I quote, they're coming in Q4. I can't reveal a price point, but we're looking at a more traditional enthusiast GPU price point. We're not targeting a $999 single GPU solution like our competition, because we believe a lot of people don't have that. In case you're curious, they're obviously making jibes about the NVIDIA Titan. We normally address what we call the ultra enthusiast section with dual GPUs offerings like the 7990. So this next generation is going to be targeting more enthusiast market versus the ultra enthusiast market. It's also extremely efficient. NVIDIA Kepler's GK110 is nearly 30% bigger from a die point perspective, and they also pointed out that the process, of course, is going to be 28 nm. So anyway, I hopefully you've enjoyed this couple of AMD videos. It's been fairly interesting, I think, but I'm going to get going, so hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.